It was my daughter's second grade year when it became apparent that she was really struggling in school. Not only was she struggling academically, but also socially, because the more she fell behind, the more insecure she got, which led to more students bullying her in school. According to Tanya J. Peterson, who's a mental health educator and author, states that children with learning disabilities are actually 31% more likely to be bullied than those without. Children who are denied the resources to be successful in school are not only being held back academically, but also damaged emotionally. According to the National Center of Learning Disabilities in 2019, they stated that over 1 million students had to repeat a grade in the school year of 2014 and 15. The most alarming part of that is that 76% of those students had learning disabilities that had not yet been identified. To better assist students, we really need more funding in order to provide more resources, and also we need more students to be advocated by their teachers. Today we're going to talk about IEPs and the purpose of them, and then we're going to talk about the difficulties in obtaining this assistance, as well as how hard it is to get advocators for our students. And then we're going to talk about the positive change that could happen if our school system was changed. IEPs, which are individualized education programs, are there to advocate for children with learning disabilities. And they're then reassessed every 3 years to make sure that we're touching base on the problem areas for our students. So it's not the problem of what the system stands for, but it's the problem with the complexity of IEPs and how hard it is to obtain them. So in order to get an IEP for a student, it has to be requested by a parent or guardian. Within 15 days, the school can tell the parent or guardian what they can provide. The parent and guardian then has 15 days to either comply or want a reevaluation. Once there's an agreement, there is then another 60 days for the school to then create a personalized contract for that student to help them in the areas that they need. So that's according to the California Department of Education. So as you can imagine, as a parent or guardian, there's an urgency to get these kids help before they fall further behind, which is leading to that financial burden being placed on the parent when they go outside of the school district to get that testing done. So in my situation, we ended up paying out of pocket to get our daughter tested, thinking that that would get her in faster. Yet it still took over 9 months for that school to create a program for her after we submitted the paperwork. So even after you get that done, then there's the tedious step of making sure that the school is actually doing what they're supposed to do to accommodate your students. As vincent.edu.com stated, since an IEP can be drawn up at any point during the year and then must be revisited and renewed within 1 year of a calendar of its activation, it can be incredibly difficult for the school to maintain records. So as you can see on this flow chart, it is a very complex system. With a complex system and a lack of advocating, you can see how a student would get lost in this program. So not only do we need the more funding, but we need more teachers to be able to advocate for our students, not just the parents. Because when you look at the data and you see how many kids have had these struggles, but they haven't been identified, that's the problem where students can't speak for their students. Because as it states in rightslaw.com, teachers have access to an IEP once it's created, but until then, they have no say-so in recommending to the parents or guardians if they see a problem for that student. So because of the big need for all this extra attention for students, schools are getting desperate and they're creating temporary solutions, such as they did for my own daughter, by creating a 6-week course so that she could get her grades up, pass the end of the year exam, and then move on to the next grade. And that's where it was. Until the school districts are able to vouch for these kids and guide these parents and guardians to better resources, the school is going to continue to fall short. As Robert Crabtree, who's an attorney specializing in education and disability law, states that a well-trained advocate can provide invaluable assistance to parents trying to make their way through the complexities of the special education laws and the procedures. So where do you go from here to help these students? My hope for the education is to be able to develop a more powerful system for the schools nationwide to ensure that for these millions of students that are needing the extra help, that we have teachers to advocate for them. By creating more substantial IT systems to where you can see the need, you can see for these students, you can see the need for the funding, and then you can properly staff these school districts to adequately help all of these students that are in need. So also, by creating a more successful plan for these students, it's so crucial that we have these teachers trained in order to identify these learning disabilities in these students so that they're not dismissed, they're not overlooked, and they're not left struggling for years. So to restate, we want to help these millions of students that are struggling in school, and it's imperative that school districts create a more reliable system in order to do so. We've discussed the need for all these resources, and we cannot let our students repeat history and let millions more suffer because they have lack of assistance. I think about my own daughter, and I wonder, had she gotten assistance sooner, would she have struggled that much? Would she have endured all the bullying, feeling so inadequate? It is my hope not only for my daughter, but also for the millions of kids out there that struggle, that we can see a positive change for our school districts.